All right, cool, man. Well, thanks for doing this today. Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody watching?
Absolutely. So my name is Sal. I am the owner of Flux. I started Flux Socks about a year and a half ago. Flux has a journey like pretty interesting. I'll kind of, just walk you back a little bit how it all started. So this is about like a year and a half ago when I was looking for some socks, right? I was probably spending about, $200 to $300 a month on socks. And that was crazy. Like if you buy socks, like that's obnoxiously expensive, right? To spend that much money on socks. The reason why I was spending so much on socks is because I was kind of attracted to the art on the sock. And my background being in like special effects and animation, kind of like it kind of attracted me to the idea that I can use socks as a canvas. That's initially why I got kind of attracted to the idea of starting a store. One of the first challenges that I had when I started Flux was sourcing. Like I knew I wanted to create a sock. I knew like the quality that I wanted for the sock, but I didn't know how to do it. A couple of months, went into doing the research on how to source, how to find suppliers, trying to learn about the fabric. So yeah, that was one of the first kind of challenges I had by just learning about the product before I even invest in it.
Yeah, and then so that was a couple months, and then did you start getting into market research after that?
Yeah, so the way I approached that was I spoke to a bunch of friends and family, and I got 50 of them together. I had a group on Facebook, and I had their emails as well. And basically, I was talking to all 50 together in an email thread, asking them like what kind of socks they buy, what kind of like what's the price point they're okay with in terms of spending on socks. So there was a challenge there too, like being in Canada, people are too nice here, so which can kind of hurt you and your business, because you want people to be 100% honest to you. If they don't like it, you want them to give it to you straight. But that was a little challenging in Canada because people are way too nice. But yeah, that would be my second challenge. But yeah, that's how I kind of approach like the market research of speaking to the friends, people I trust, people who care for my success.
Totally. And then what kind of makes, so you said you use the socks kind of as a canvas. What makes them so different from other socks though?
There's a lot of sock brands out there who have like sock designs, but they have kind of approached it in a very like, if I'm getting very technical here, they kind of approach the designs as very single tone, which is it's one of the techniques how you print socks. So if you weave the sock, you can only stick to one color in a design, right? So say if you had to kind of create a fade from like red to pink, that's something you can't do unless and until you do a heat transfer. So I was finding that if you were like most of the sock brand were kind of limited to just one color, so they couldn't come up with really cool designs. There's only one or two brands who were actually doing that, so that kind of intrigued me, and I started looking into like how do you go about transferring any design on a sock. It is still very new technique, but it's been done, and I'm doing it, and there's still a long way to go in terms of like perfecting it and making it seamless. But yeah, that's what was one thing that I really wanted. I wanted to be able to transfer any art, any design on a sock as it is.
That's really cool. I love that. I like having socks that aren't just single tone either. I mean, I have a pair of Flux socks and I absolutely love them. They're so comfy.
Awesome, and yeah, I remember you buying it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're warm too.
Yeah.
Cool. So with those challenges you had in the beginning, and then moving into kind of more recent times where you kind of grown your business a little bit, what were some things that kind of kept you motivated, maybe, or maybe things in your mindset or in your personal habits that you changed that helped you grow the business a little bit more?
That's a very interesting one because having when if it's your first time starting a business, there's a lot of things that you need to like plan ahead of time, and there's a lot of unexpected things that you didn't know you had to do when you were starting a business. For example, you have to learn how to do accounting, you have to learn how to manage your stock, you have to learn everything about marketing, because that's just like the very fuel of any business. But yeah, the big thing there was like time management. Like that's something I still struggle with, but like your time has to be managed really well, because if you don't, you'll burn out. And then you have to start looking into like taking care of your mental health. You have to kind of, make sure you're working out as well. So I guess to kind of shrink it all down to like into habits and stuff, I think the big one was waking up early. I was, one of those people who would sleep late at night because I thought after like, when the day is about to get over, when it's dark, I was getting more productive because I didn't have any calls to attend. So like my core work hours, like if you spoke to me like 6 months ago, my core work hours were like 11 p.m. till 3 a.m. But that could only last so long. So I had to switch my whole life around where I sleep at 11 o'clock, but I wake up at 7, and 7 to 10 is my really core hours, where I'm doing most of my creative work, most of my important work. So yeah, that was a big one to like just make that switch in my life.
Yeah. Is there anything you're working on right now to like keep yourself motivated? Are you reading any good books?
Yeah, this one book that a lot of people told me about, and I just didn't quite catch that. Why? Because everyone would be like, "Hey, read this book; it's important," but no one actually gave me a brief on why I should. But the book that I'm reading right now is called E-Myth. It's basically about building systems and just playing different roles in your company. The premise of the book is like, why do most of the businesses fail, and why they fail, and how to create a business that doesn't fail. It's pretty well explained. I think it's one of those books that you have to read at least 3 to 4 times in your lifetime to really get what the author is really trying to say.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything like if I were to start maybe not just socks or fashion, but if I was to start any business, if you could go back and redo it knowing what you know now, is there anything you would tell somebody starting out, any kind of advice or anything?
Oh man, there's not one, there's a lot of things that, if I had to go back, or if I had to like, tell you if you were starting. The biggest thing that I did wrong when I was starting out was like, when I was dealing with suppliers, I thought you have to buy bulk to get like good rates, right? Which might sound like it's easy to do, because not easy, which would make sense at the time, because say, I'm just going to give you an example of a sock. If you're buying one pair of sock, it can cost you like somewhere between $6 to $15, right? But if you buy, say, 1,000 of those, it's going to cost you around $2. So on paper, if you look at it, $2 is a great price because your margins have gone really high. But you are required to buy 2,000 or 1,000 of them, so that now we're talking already $4,000 to $5,000 per pair, and you need at least like 20 of them. Now we're already in 30, 40,000s, right? So you have to really think about how you're spending your money, and you have to really get good with finding suppliers that can support your low order quantity. So that's the one thing that I would change, because I dumped a lot of my money into socks that I wasn't even sure were going to sell or not. So be careful with how you spend your money when you're starting out, because you can really blow it all out.
Cool. I think that's really important. If you don't know if you got to test it out first, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of testing? So I know you said you had that 50-person email group going around. Once you did talk to them and stuff, and then did you contact some suppliers and get some test orders and see how people like them?
So the way I started that was pretty interesting. Like I was able to make a mock-up because I had my background in animation and special effects. I was able to create a render of the sock that looked 100% real. Like if you looked at the photo, you're like, okay, this product has been shot, it exists, right? But it did not exist at the time. So that's how I started. I just, talked to my friends. I was like, hey, this is a sock. It's just going to take a little while to get to you guys, 3 months, 4 months. I wasn't lying. I was just being kind of honest about that. This is a new company. I'm starting out. And since you guys know me and you trust me, this is a product. If you're interested, let me know. Yeah, everyone jumped on board. I remember, just waking up on the day when I launched the website. I launched that email campaign. I had about 30 orders that morning, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, okay, well, and that's the thing, right? Once you start to accept money, you're in business. You have to make it happen. Obviously, there's an option to do a refund, but since your family and friends are involved, you feel accountable. And I think that was one of the biggest things and the best things I did, when I was starting out, just to accept those pre-orders and kind of create that mock-up. So I had to make it happen. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. because you want everything right. You want the right logo, you want the right website, but all that doesn't even matter because people kind of really care about your story. They connect with what you do and why you do it, and that was pretty clear when I started.
It's a good motivator.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I think that's a good place to kind of cap this whole thing off. Is there any last minute things you want to say? I'll be sure to link your website and stuff below.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I think the saying that really helped me through starting this business to get to the point where I am today would be choose progress over perfection, because things will always grow and change. The hardest part is to build that momentum. That'd be the one thing that I tell everyone: just start.
Sweet, man. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this today, dude.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Foster.